You wake up to an alarm going off at 6 in the morning. You have to go to the factory to feed your family of 3, and the thoughts in your head swing back and forth between rent, electricity, giving your child pocket money, and somehow feeding both yourself and your family at the same time. Your spouse is lying beside you, awake but pretending to be asleep, because sometimes talking can make things even worse. You see news about subprime mortgages on the television, but those images feel like they belong to a world that has nothing to do with yours, because buying a house feels almost impossible, until October, when your supervisor calls you into his office and you see the title deed sitting on his desk. In that moment, you realize it was entirely about you. The crisis was always with you, and it will stay that way. You are a loan officer at a small bank branch. In 2005, most people are buying homes, and prices are rising by 15%. They told you real estate never loses value, and you tell the same thing to customers because no one questions the top of the chain. You have to fill your monthly quotas. The man sitting in front of you earns $3,000 a month, but the payment on the house he wants is $2,200. Something stings in the back of your mind, but the model says approved, your superiors say approved. The system says approved. You sign because you are here to sell, not to think, and nobody explained it that way to you. But if you question the situation, you cannot fill your quota. If you cannot fill your quota, you cannot get your bonus. If you cannot get your bonus, you cannot move forward in your career. That is how the system keeps itself going. That loan is sold by the bank to another investment bank, bundled together with hundreds of similar loans, becomes an MBS, then a CDO layer is added on top of it. It goes to the rating agency, they get paid too. It receives an AAA rating, and it is sold to a pension fund on the other side of the world. You do not understand any of this. All you know is that you filled your quota and got your commission. But because you do not understand it, you will remain vulnerable. Because in 2008, the bank collapsed and you lost your job, and now you are at the same level as the man in level 1. You are a mid-sized fund manager. At 6 in the morning, a Bloomberg terminal is open in front of you, a cold blue glow of the screen shining brightly. The fund has $150 million, and you invested part of it in AAA-rated MBSS because the yield is high, and they said, the risk is diversified. In theory, it is as safe as a government bond, but with a better return. That combination looks absurd, but that is what the models say. And trusting the model requires much less effort than recalculating everything yourself. In 2007, a report your assistant shows you says delinquency rates are rising in Arizona, Florida, and Nevada, and spreads are behaving strangely, but statistically, it is still within the limits of the model. You think it is temporary because you have never encountered something like this before, and trusting the data you believe in is easier than questioning the situation. You think of the warning signs as unnecessary noise. This is not a conscious mistake. It is the human mind's search for a shortcut, and that search will cost $150 million. You are on the 43rd floor of Wall Street in front of structured products. You are putting CDO layers on top of MBSS, combining the riskiest tranches and creating CDO squared. It has become a product so detached from the underlying assets that nobody fully understands what is inside it, but the model does. And you believe in the model. You go to the rating agency and pay them, you get AAA. This conflict of interest is a very obvious reality, but that is how the system works, and you are not here to reinvent it. During a meeting, a colleague says, the quality of the underlying assets is deteriorating. There's a brief silence. The department head says, the market is strong, we continue. And the conversation ends there. You accept it too, because objecting could cost you your career, because your bonus will come according to these numbers. But the real issue is this. As the numbers rise, the people behind them disappear. Michael and his family turn into abstract data points. When you look at the screen in the morning, you do not see people. You see spreads. This numbness is not a character flaw. It is the psychological cost of being attached to the system. You run a small but aggressive hedge fund. By the end of 2006, you moved away from aggregate models and went down to the raw data. You examined delinquency rates by zip code. In some counties in Florida, 30-day delinquencies have exceeded 12%. In Arizona, zero-down loans have tripled. In Nevada, home prices are more than 2.5 times the median income. When you see these not one by one but all together, the picture speaks. The market is flying on top of a bubble, and every new loan pumps more air into it. You told a few colleagues this. The response was, there must be something wrong with your model. Quietly, you opened a credit default swap position. If the mortgage market collapses, you profit. If it does not, you pay premiums every month. Throughout 2007, the market is euphoric and your positions are losing money. And people in the sector say, he does not understand the market. Invitations decrease. But you keep studying the data, and the data keeps showing the same thing. By 2008, the market is unraveling. The value of your positions rises, and everyone asks, how did you see it? But that is not the real question. The real question is why others did not notice. The answer is simple. They did not want to notice, because those who do notice have to stand at the edge of the system, and the edge is much lonelier than the center. You are the director of risk management at a massive investment bank. Part of what you do is measure the risks the institution is taking and try to limit them, which means you are the one who says no. You put up barriers in front of revenue-generating departments, you narrow the bonus pool, and within corporate culture, the risk manager rarely has real power. By the end of 2007, there are reports on your desk. The CDO positions are at dangerous levels. The stress tests are at levels that should raise concern. You present your view to upper management. They say, temporary volatility, the market will recover. In another meeting you say, we need to reduce our positions. They say our competitors are in the same positions too. If we pull out, we lose market share. And that is the real issue. Everyone is doing the same thing, and everyone is afraid of stepping back from risk. This is the exact center of systemic risk. Everyone is betting on the same road, but you cannot stop it because you do not make the decisions. Senior management does, and the board looks at the shareholders, and the shareholders ask how much profit you generated this year, not what will happen 10 years from now. In September 2008, Lehman collapses. The bank announces severe losses, and they call you into a meeting, but only so you can listen to them. Later on, you will say, I saw it, I warned them, nobody listened. That is true, but there is something you realize inside yourself. You could have raised your voice more, you could have resigned, but you did not, because your job, your status, and your position tied you down like a rope, and sometimes that feels comfortable. You are a senior advisor at the US Treasury in Washington. It is September 2008, and you are in a meeting with sleepless people. Lehman has failed, AIG is collapsing, major banks are refusing to lend to each other, and the credit markets are broken. Companies are looking for short-term credit just to pay wages, but they cannot find it. If nothing is done this week, there will be free fall. The options are being discussed, and every option is worse than the one before it. Saving the banks with taxpayer money, TARP, hundreds of billions of dollars. This money does not go to Michael. He already lost his house. This money repairs the balance sheets of the institutions that created the system. Someone in the room says, aren't we creating moral hazard? The answer is yes, but the alternative is worse, and that is probably true. But being true will not make anything right. The package passes, the banks are saved, the system stabilizes, and they say a second Great Depression has been prevented. But by the end of 2009, unemployment has risen to 10%. Millions of people have lost their assets, half of their retirement savings has evaporated, and the banks return to profit in 2010. Bonuses come back in 2011. You see all of this, and you feel something inside yourself. You understand the logic of the system, but you also realize that its logic does not align with morality. Now when you enter the room, everyone stands up and looks at you. You were at the top, or at least it felt like the top, but in the middle of 2008, you felt real terror because you understood how deeply interconnected the system had become, and you felt the uncertainty of how and when it could ever be fixed. Too big to fail is a financial term, but at the same time, it is an explanation that the system was forced to keep feeding the monster it had created. After the crisis, you are on stage at a conference giving a presentation about the lessons. You deliver a technically correct, flawless analysis. A young economist raises a hand and asks, so will anyone ever be held accountable? A brief silence. You say, responsibility is diffuse, the system is complex. That is actually true, but you can see the dissatisfaction in those eyes. And maybe that dissatisfaction is completely justified. 2008 was not caused by a single event. It was the effect created by millions of separate human decisions coming together. Every decision was rational in its own way. Each one made sense from its own point of view. But when they were all combined, they produced an irrational, destructive, and humanly catastrophic outcome. because the system was designed in a way that pushed every person to act according to the condition of the level they were in. And while this was happening, nobody needed to see the full picture. Level 1 only worries about rent. Level 2 only worries about quota. Level 4 only worries about bonus. Level 6 only worries about career. Each one looks at the event from their own window, and the window is open, but the window is not enough to see the whole building. And that is the true face of this architecture. Financial architecture, how money flows, how risk is distributed, how incentives are structured. These seem like simple questions, but they are actually moral questions. Who gets rewarded? Who gets punished? Whose voice is heard loudly? Whose voice is barely heard? Millions of people were harmed by 2008. They lost their homes, their jobs, their retirement savings, their health, their relationships. Their dreams were destroyed, and the great majority of these people did not know what a CDO was, what subprime was, what a credit default swap was. They had no knowledge of these subjects. They were simply continuing their lives, working and making plans. And those plans came true until the decisions made by people they had never known in one corner of the system brought the whole thing down. But the system has not collapsed yet, and because it has not collapsed, the story continues. Only the names of the levels change. The rules are still the same.